Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at the newest version of a classic diver, the Seiko King Turtle, model number SRPE05. This watch has been around for almost 50 years now, and this particular version got a big upgrade, but more on that later. I am sure most of you are familiar with some of Seiko's most popular dive watches, so let's have a look at common characteristics across all turtles from the past until now. So the cushion-shaped design is resembling a turtle, hence the nickname Turtle. Another common feature is that the crown is located at 4 o'clock position, and in classic Seiko fashion we also find a day-date complication at the 3 o'clock position. An exception here is the Mini Turtle line, which does not have these features. I mentioned earlier that this 2020 version got a big upgrade. Well, the SRPE03, 05 and 07, and also many other models, feature a ceramic bezel insert and a sapphire crystal. Finally. If Barneys can slap a sapphire crystal and a ceramic bezel insert on a $70 watch, why can't Seiko, one of the biggest companies in the watch business, do it? On a serious note, paying 300 to 400 euro or dollars for a watch that has a mineral crystal and an aluminium bezel is a bitter pill to swallow. So sure, you can argue that specs aren't everything and an aluminium bezel insert gives the watch a certain vintage aesthetic, but come on, does this look vintage to you? At least Seiko watch modding is a thing, so you can get the crystal swapped out if you so desire. But that's a hassle for some, and I'd love to get it with a sapphire crystal straight out of the factory. The good thing is that Seiko starts to upgrade their lineup slowly now. The King Turtle was the first, now the Samurai follows with the recently released King Samurai. And there is also a big drawback though. Actually, it's two drawbacks. Number one is the price increase. While older Turtle models can be had for around 350 euro, the newer Turtle sets you back at roughly 500 euro. That's a 150 euro difference. And second, for whatever reason, Seiko decided to slap these date magnifiers on all of their newest Prospects models. Why, I don't know, but I personally don't mind it. But I know that it's putting some people off, and I can understand that. Let's start off with the measurements. The watch has a 42.5 diameter if you measure it from the top to the bottom of the bezel. If we include the whole watch case, we're looking at 45 millimeters. The lock-to-lock distance is 47.5 millimeters, and the case height is 13 millimeters, not including the date window. The lock opening is 22 millimeters in case you want to swap out some straps. As you can see, this is not a small watch by all means. Still, this Seiko wears slightly smaller than anticipated. The reasoning being that most websites state the watch size being 45mm. Well, the 45mm is a bit off-putting in my opinion. That's because it is measured at the widest outer part of the case. The fact that the case shape curves up and down makes it hard to determine the actual case size. Just like most Seiko watches, this one wears way smaller than the specs on paper would suggest. To me, it wears more like a 42mm watch. And here's how the watch looks like on my 17cm or 6.75 inch wrist. It is a very comfortable watch and I like how it hugs my wrist. Size wise I think it's fine, but personally I would not go any bigger than that. Inside this watch beats Seiko's automatic caliber 4R36, a very reliable movement with a day-date complication, 41 hours of power reserve and a beat rate of 21,600 beats per hour, which equals 6 ticks per second. One might argue that you should expect a better movement at this price, but honestly this one is very accurate, so I am not complaining. The construction of the case and the finishing is just awesome. The turtle is brushed on top and polished on the sides. This watch features a screw-down crown at the 4 o'clock position. It also features drilled locks, which makes strap changes really easy. What I really like about this version is the updated bezel texture. The screw-down case back features a Seiko wave and the usual spreadsheet of specs. Alright, let's move on to the star of the show, the face, the dial of this beauty. A dial that I have never seen before, very nicely dark green textured. I call it a waffle dial, some people call it a grenade dial, call it whatever you want. And that green, it's mesmerizing. In certain light conditions, it almost looks black, sometimes even more olive, and the splash of gold on the second hand and on the text give this watch a unique personality. Certainly one of the more unique divers out there. We have the same set of hands that Seiko used throughout the years on the Turtle. A nice little detail here is the blacked out balanced tip of the second hand. We find an applied Seiko logo at the 12 o'clock position and the highly controversial Prospex logo, automatic and Divers 200-meter written above the 6 o'clock marker. Below that there's some info about the movement. It is worth mentioning that this is not the JDM model, so there is no made in Japan written down below. All indices are applied and filled with Seiko's proprietary LumiBrite. Here is a loom shot. It's one of the best looms out there and it lasts through the night. I have to mention that this is not the watch with the strongest loom that I own, but it's competing with my Zilos watches and it's just a little bit unfair. Most Zilos watches glow stronger and longer than this one, so I just want to be transparent about that. Let's talk about that crystal. We have a flat sapphire crystal with colorless AR coating protecting this watch. The day-date magnifier is also made out of sapphire. The 120 click unidirectional glossy ceramic bezel insert is probably one of my favorite features about that watch. Honestly, this is my first time owning a Seiko diver and it is also the watch with the most satisfying bezel action that I have ever handled. Have a listen. The ceramic bezel insert paired with the sapphire crystal give the watch some nice protection from scratches. One thing I realized is that because of that the watch appears very shiny. There are some watches out there that have a brushed ceramic bezel, but this one has a glossy one, which doesn't bother me at all. It just makes the watch look newer for longer. However, if you don't like that in-your-face look of a watch and you prefer more subdued watches, you might want to skip on this one. You must have noticed it already, but I am not wearing my watch on the original silicone strap, but rather on this very nice and soft black rubber strap from Fossil. The reason for that is that the original strap unfortunately doesn't fit me properly, which is a shame because I really like the feel of the green rubber strap. I am in between two holes, so the watch sits either too loose or too tight on my wrist. I switched it to this black Fossil strap that I had lying around and it fits me perfectly. One positive thing that I have to mention is the nice hardware that you're getting when you buy this watch. The spring bars are really nice and chunky and they feel very secure. Also the buckle and the keeper have an embossed Seiko logo which looks awesome. I was very pleasantly surprised, to be honest. So as you can tell, I'm a big fan of this watch. However, there are some negatives as well. Here are two things that you should consider before buying this watch. Number 1, QC issues. Seiko is known for having misaligned bezel inserts, chapter rings, dials and so on. This is also the case with this one. While the chapter ring and the bezel seem to be aligned properly, as far as I can tell, however the Cyclops is not. It is slightly crooked and you can see it in this shot. It took me quite some time to notice that, but now that I have, I can't unsee it anymore, which bothers me quite a bit. Of course I could remove the magnifier, but I don't have any experience with that, so I would rather not do that. I guess I just have to live with it. Number 2, the fact that we have an unsigned crown is a big negative. To some more than to others, it would have been nice to have some kind of branding on the crown. I don't know why Seiko decided to do that. Also on their more expensive 1000 euro models there is not a signed crown. Luckily there are a lot of aftermarket parts that will fit this watch, so you can swap that out if you so desire. But other than that, I can't find anything that bothers me. Honestly, this watch is amazing and it is a special watch in my collection. To close this video out, I want to share my final thoughts and some outdoor shots. Note how the color of the dial changes based on the lighting situation. So why did I buy this watch? I actually didn't plan to. A couple of months back, when I saw this watch in a display window, it stood out to me. Amongst many other different watches, this was the one that actually caught my attention. Color of the dial and that pattern, I think it has a lot of character and that's why I bought it. Can you get a better watch for 500 euro? Sure you can. There are tons of watches in the same price range competing with this one. However, most watches lack personality and I think that's where this watch shines. Some people might disagree with me, but that's what's so great about this hobby. Everyone's perception on watches is different. What's most important though is that in the end, you should buy what you love and love what you buy. That marks the end of the video. Let me know what you think about the newest Turtle. I want to thank you all for watching and if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. This is Michael and I'll see you next time.